Hi, this is Harvey at harveyproperty.com. Today our topic is, what do you do if a tenant doesn't pay their rent on time? Obviously, you hope that your property manager is going to do a good job in finding a qualified tenant for you. Typically, a good property manager will do an extensive background search to determine prior rental history, job income, debt load, and any past infractions that a landlord may have had against that tenant. However, lots of times people who have had great jobs in the past may lose their job, and now they have some financial hardships, or perhaps a medical emergency arises. When those cases happen, the tenant often will either delay paying their rent or may not pay their rent at all. That's when you have to rely on your property manager to help solve that problem for you. Most property managers will follow a one-size-fits-all procedure for handling delinquent rents. Typically, it goes something like this. Rents are due on the first of the month. They're considered late after, and these are typical time frames, the 3rd, the 5th, or the 10th of the month. Immediately after that, the property manager will send what's known as a pay or quit notice to the tenant, giving them typically 5 or 10 days to pay their rent 100% in full, including all fees and balances, or the tenant must move out. If the tenant doesn't pay that rent by that time, then the property manager immediately files for eviction and the property will become vacant. I recently heard of a situation where a tenant came in, they had had a financial hardship, they brought in $900. The rent was $800, the late fee was $65, the property manager's fees were $150. Obviously, that's more than $900. The property manager refused to accept it because it wasn't 100%. Wound up filing eviction against that tenant. The property went vacant. The owner then, instead of collecting $900 instead of the $1,000 plus, had 3 months worth of vacancy, turnover costs to make the property market ready again, and new leasing fees for the property manager. We think that the process of immediately sending out a letter for a pay or quit creates an adversarial relationship. Our concept is to establish a positive relationship with that tenant to make that tenant want to renew year after year after year, thus creating a long-term positive cash flow for the owner. So our procedure is a little bit different. When the tenant is late on their rent, we actually make a personal phone call to that tenant, asking them what happened. Sometimes the tenant may say, oh, I was a few days late, but it's in the mail. Here's the money order number. If you don't have it by Wednesday, please let me know. And lo and behold, we may get it the very next day. However, in some cases, the tenant may say, yeah, I lost my job or my car broke down and I had to use the money for that. We'll then try to establish some sort of a payment arrangement with that tenant. Now, before we'll go into a finalized payment arrangement, we do take a look at the history that we have with that tenant. Do they pay on time normally? If they don't pay on time, do they get caught up immediately? Are they complainers about unnecessary items? How long have they lived with us? Have they been there only 2 months, or have they been there for 3 years? All of these are important factors to determine whether or not it is worth entering into a payment plan with that tenant. Now, certainly in some cases, we do have to file for an eviction and remove the tenant. But by using our procedures, we minimize those times in order to keep the tenants long-term and develop that long-term relationship that turns into long-term profits so that the owner wins, the tenant wins, and the property manager, rather than making a lot of money on a move-out, makes a normal fee and keeps you as a happy client for years to come. If you have any other questions on procedures that we use to maintain your property at its highest possible profitability, please feel free to contact me, Harvey, at harveyproperty.com.